Hey Trojans, it's Jeff. I just got a quick slideshow here. I'm going to try to keep this to less than 10 minutes. This is about our Tier 2 referral for attendance, and pretty excited to get this out. And I want to go through this with you. It's just one form, but I've kind of exploded it a little bit into several slides so we can kind of break down each. I didn't do a really great job of it at the staff meeting because we didn't have a ton of time, and I wanted you guys to get to your breakout sessions. So we're going to break it down a little bit more. This isn't something we're going to jump into next week. It's only our days 6, 7, and 8 of Q1 next week. So I think next week is a good time to do some checking and rechecking to see how this works and ask admin questions, and Bobby and Doug and whoever else. But anyway, this is something that probably won't be used a ton. And hopefully more kids are showing up. It was pretty encouraging to see we had over 70% of our kids at picture and pickup day. So I think we're getting a little bit more steam moving forward. So this is if you have to get to a Tier 2 referral. And this is about chronic absenteeism. I want to talk a little bit about Tier 1, what our practices are supposed to look like in a multi-tiered support system. The state looks at attendance like this, and we kind of borrow some of the things from it that work for us. Some of the things that don't work so well, we kind of leave alone. We want to make sure at the high school level, we aren't just talking about when kids attend. We also want to talk about how well they are doing in terms of reaching standards and passing classes, and the social emotional aspect of what they can gain from school. Standards wise, students that are missing more than 10% or 10% or more of their instructional time are considered by the state as chronic absence or absentees. We have a lot of kids who are overly programmed, and I mean that in the right way. Like they do a lot of sports, they do a lot of activities, they're on field trips, and if you looked at their attendance, a lot of them would look pretty chronically absent. However, they just have a way of managing their time and working and being motivated that their grades sometimes tend to be really stellar. So I just want to make sure we make that important differentiation. So look at attendance and monitor your kids. And really, this should be something you're doing kind of on a week-to-week basis. It's not something you want to look at every day. Doesn't mean you don't want to be concerned about it, because we want our kids with us in class. But I would just make sure you set up some type of a system so it's doable. So the question is, how might I monitor Tier 1? And I'm thinking about this as a teacher. We want you to be intentional, systematic, and know what matters when it comes to success in your particular class. So I would designate a part of your week, each week, time you set aside where you're just going to progress monitor your students just purely on their attendance and triangulating that with kids, how they're doing grade-wise. So if I had a group of, let's say, 70 kids I'm carrying for Q2, if I had 70 kids, and let's say I find out 55 of them have C's or better, probably not going to be looking at those kids so much. But the other 15 kids who have less than C's, C minuses on down to F's, I'm going to start looking at their attendance and triangulating, are they chronic absence? And if they are, if they're starting to show those type of symptoms, hopefully I'm building relationships with the students and creating some opportunities so I can start talking to them about it. So what we'd like you to do is step 1, if a student's starting to struggle academically and is missing a lot of class, or even if they're not missing a lot of class, we still want you to reach out. Speak to the student away from others. I think by now we all know how to do that in the distance world. I have some ideas that would work that I've heard from other teachers, whether it's Remind, whether it's emails. I wish we could do the individual chats like you can in Zoom, but we can't. Express concern, find out if barriers exist. We don't want to jump to they just aren't showing up because they don't want to. We do have a few kids like that, but very, very few. Most kids wake up wanting to do well. We want to leverage those relationships, and we want to let the kids know that's something we keep track of. And it's because we care about them. We want them to do well in school. And if you don't see things start to get better, and I would give the kids a week or two, then we want to reach out to the parents or their guardian. We want to make sure we do that in the most caring ways. And we want to speak hope into the situation. And of course, if we need to use translators, there's some access right there to help you with that. You could also email and use Google Translation, and that's another method you could use. So as you start to contact parents or guardians, because this is something you really need to do before you move it into a referral. I mean, they should have heard from the teacher first, no question about it. I know I've worked with plenty of parents who never heard anything from a teacher in other schools, and that's really a tough place for an administrator to start. So we really need you to do those reach outs to parents and let them know once it gets to that point. And this would be for a student who's showing chronic absenteeism for about 3 weeks now, by the time you get to a tier 2 attendance referral form. So when you do have the parent on the phone or in an email, hopefully they're giving you some type of reply that they received it. I would always ask for that. That way you know that your message has landed. We want to share information about what it is you have as a teacher to schedule support for the student, when you're available, what's available at school, such as Troy time, after school tutoring, any type of online electronic interventions you have. We have plenty around our school. You should know for your own particular content what that is. And then if we have to go to a tier 2 attendance referral, we go ahead and click on that link. This is all accessible through the shared drive. We'll make sure everybody has that. And then you get to that form. And basically the top of the form is basically the student's name, grade level, I think content area, it's just the basic things. And then which counselor / ACT captain you're routing it to. And that helps us on our end with a spreadsheet as far as, if I'm Boone Borden or I'm the captain for the team that Boone's kind of being a counselor for, we know which group of kids we're going to focus in on. So the first thing would be attendance, absences, attempts made to contact the student and guardian with no success. That means you've done some emailing or you've done some phone calling, and we're asking for at least 2 of any combination. Obviously, if you catch them on the first try, then that's even better. The next box would be absences, successful contact made with parent guardian. However, nothing has changed. The next one would be a non-attendance concern, and that's where you'd want to add information below. The next one would be if you're worried about more SEL type things or social emotional pieces. This would be definitely a reach out to our counselors as they worked with the ACT teams. The next one would be resource and supplies needed. This could fall on ACT. This also could fall on the services that Lori Lippert gives kids through Chromebooks and technology. Same thing with the next box. And then the last box before we get to other things that we haven't thought about before is the attending, not providing evidence of learning, and parents have been made aware. And if you want to provide more detail on that, absolutely. Now, a question that came up earlier is what if we have more than one box to check? Just check one. Check the one you feel is most emergent. And then when you get down to the concern detail, give us a little bit of information. We got to have quick hitting information. We don't have a lot of time to read through a lot of stuff, even though it's really important stuff. It's important that we can be nimble and move forward and not let these things start to pile up and jam up. The next thing you'd want to do after you've done the detail is submit. Make sure you hit submit, and that would be successful. And the hope is, if we had about 65 kids that were on the Becca bill, not that we're doing that right now, the state's made some changes on that at the start of the year. You distribute that over 96 teachers. That's not a lot of kids that would be happening in the first 3 weeks that we're sending referrals on. Now, of course, things start to accumulate, and it should be more of a steady flow of a few kids. So anyway, that's how we're using the form. That's what you need to know. The access points will be the shared drive, and then also the staff guidebook. So thanks for following along. I will make sure you get a copy of the slideshow. You probably never have to refer to it again. Maybe we'll just have Brian put it in the staff guidebook so it'll be next to the link. And have a great day. Appreciate everything you guys are doing.